Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Andrew Moran, Sarah Cowgill, Joe Schaefer, and David Patterson. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. For almost a year now, Ukraine has had Russian combat troops planted menacingly on its eastern border. Liberty Nation has reported on U.S. and NATO reaction to the pressures posed by the Kremlin forces. Threats and counter-threats are being used as leverage to buy time for an outcome that no one can readily predict. Is it simply a matter of time until all hell breaks loose? Or is Russia just trying to bully Ukraine into peaceful submission? Buckle up, folks. It may be a bumpy ride for Eastern Europe, and our military affairs correspondent Dave Patterson is here to dot the I's and cross the T's. Dave, I just heard a Pentagon live press briefing, and they said France has now put, their troops in motion. So I guess everything's all good and well, and now that the French are there, we're good to go.
Yikes, that is comforting. Actually, this is kind of confusing for the people looking in from the outside. On the one hand, you have President Putin, who is saying that he isn't getting enough respect and that NATO, US, and European allies are simply ignoring his security needs. And then he also opened up the possibility that Russia would not be invading Ukraine. On the other hand, we have President Biden, who puts 8,500 troops on heightened alert, sending 3,000 troops to Eastern Europe. 2,000 will go to Poland and Germany, and 1,000 will move from Germany to Romania. So it seems as though we're talking past each other and are, quite frankly, it's almost perverse. Putin is getting exactly what he wants. Biden is getting what he wants. Putin, because he is now a major actor on the world stage, and Biden, because the focus is on the Ukraine sovereign border and not on the United States sovereign border, where illegals are just crossing in droves.
Sarah, do you think that, things are starting to ratchet up and people are starting to talk about this out in the heartland and they're getting concerned?
I don't think people are concerned here. I hang out in a local pub that is owned, military owned, former military owned, and they can see this coming a mile away. I think their biggest worry is, now that we have seen what happened in Ukraine, their biggest issue is, are we getting the people out of Afghanistan? Are we getting Americans out of Ukraine before all hell breaks loose over there? And that's their biggest concern around here.
Joe, do we have a situation where, weakness begets trouble on the world stage? I mean, starting back with Afghanistan?
Well, if you're asking me, I don't care. This is, we have problems in America. We have our own border, and the vast majority of Americans really do not want to go to war over Ukraine, not even close. They're not interested. You can talk about it any way you want. We have our house is burning down right here, and I'm just not too worried about it. But I would like, if it's okay, I'd like to ask Dave a question, just a question. What does he think of the analogy that I've seen many people give of the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, with Soviet missiles right on our doorstep annoying us? Does Vladimir Putin have a right to be upset with NATO going right up to his doorstep like this? Or is that not a good analogy? What do you think about that, Dave?
Well, I think from the standpoint of, Russia v. the United States, it's probably a reasonable comparison. On the other hand, much to our dismay, the Biden administration, the Biden national security team, is nowhere near the competence of the JFK team. And it just seems as though from, if you compare and contrast, you have Russia and the United States. If you want to contrast it, the consequences are drastically different. On the one hand, with the Cuban Missile Crisis, you had nuclear missiles that could easily range the eastern coast. But with Ukraine, the consequences more of will Russia move into the eastern part of the Donbas region of Ukraine, and then of course the Western nations have argued that they will impose significant economic sanctions. So the consequences are drastically different.
So, Andrew, from your perch up in Canada, will Biden be tough or watch it unfold? Or is this going to be, like Dave said, kind of a Cuban missile thing happening again?
Well, Ukraine, Canada has a lot of has a heavy Ukraine population, and actually, my neighborhood, one of my neighbors, he's from Ukraine, and he was telling me how Zelensky's a fool. But in this situation, I think Biden is the fool. Zelensky's taking advantage of everybody. He's telling people we need $5 billion to secure our economy. We need all these military weapons. We need all these financial loans. And what's happened? And then he says at the same time, tone down the rhetoric. I know better than a lot of people what's going on the ground. So I think Biden is being foolish here, but Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, he's doing a fantastic job. Is just taking all the money from the rest of the world to fight against Russia. So I think out of everybody, Zelensky's one who's looking best in this situation.
David, got just a few seconds left. Quick prediction. What happens next?
I think that Putin goes and enjoys the Winter Olympics in China.
Well, there's a lot riding on a peaceful solution to the crisis unfolding in Ukraine. Will Joe Biden be a major player in drawing this mess to a conclusion? Or will we see him recede into the shadows or attempt to bully Putin into backing down? We'll let you know the details. Thanks, panel, and thank you for tuning in. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, or on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our productions. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone, just $17.76 for the year. Special thanks to our fantastic editor and post coordinator, Frank Diorio, and our executive producer, Sarah Cowgill. I'm Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief. Thanks so much for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com, where truth is making a comeback.